with us. I mean, he came in all the way from South Africa. And you know why most artists, most of the international stars come in and they fly to South Africa? It's because their systems, I mean, especially when it has to do with streaming, everything, it seems to work. Even though there are challenges, but he flew all the way from South Africa to join us. Now, his career spans over 19 years, working across 3 different countries on the continent. He has, over the years, gathered tons of experience in taking advantage of modern technologies in music, in streaming, and managing artists. Ladies and gentlemen, Munya, as the name is bringing a profoundly decorated career to our discussion. So please, with a round of applause, please welcome Munya Chanetsa from South Africa.
Akwaba, everyone. How are you? It's a pleasure to be here. First and foremost, I just want to thank MTN for this initiative. I mean, can we give them a round of applause, because this is the only way for the industry to grow, is by communicating and educating. Secondly, I want to thank you guys for making out. I know how the industry is, and waking up early to come to these things is not easy. So, round of applause for you guys also for making it here today. Nice. So my full name is Munyaradzi Chanetsa, originally from Zimbabwe, but I work in South Africa, and that's where I'm based. I call myself the Southwest African man, because even though I'm Southern African, people look at me and think I'm from West Africa. So it's very nice. I like that. So I'm your brother. So let me start with the presentation. So I'm the managing director at a company, Content Connect Ghana, which you can see on the screen above. And this is our mission statement. And usually, just to make sure everyone is alive and awake, I like us to read this together. So if you don't mind, can we all read this together, please? Is everyone with me? Okay, let's do it together. At Content Connect Ghana. Hey, I'm not hearing a single voice. That's my mistake. Okay, it's meant to be Content Connect. Okay, so let's try one more time. At Content Connect Ghana, we are music forward, fearlessly leading the industry, creating a home for artists that builds a global recognition for African music. So that is our mission statement, and that is what we stand by at Content Connect Ghana. So also, just to let you know, Content Connect Ghana is a 360 entertainment company, but the core business is digital distribution. So currently, within the continent, we have our footprint in 9 countries in Africa. This includes, obviously, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, Rwanda, Swaziland, Zambia, and Cameroon. So basically, what I'm saying is that if you were to allow us to license your content, we can make your content, your music, available in all these different territories. We have offices in 3 territories, which are in South Africa, Nigeria, and Ghana. And in Uganda, we just have a branch there. So the 3, I call it the 2 C's and D. We do curation of music. So what we do at Content Connect Africa is we will license your music and we curate it. So curating it is basically creating playlists on different platforms to make sure your content is spread far and wide. We also do creation of music. So creation is, Content Connect, what we started doing also is now we started financing artists. So the idea is to enable you, to finance you. So whether it's mixing and mastering, whether it is getting a music video, those are the things where we started financing artists and labels in order to create quality content. And lastly, as I said, the core business is digital distribution. So as I said, it's a 360. So these are the different services that we can also, or what I call added value. So as I said, we do recording. So if you require studio time, we would be able to find a studio. We can cover the cost for that. Obviously, there's a deal in place. It's not for free, but there's a deal we'd have to structure in place. Oh, we also do, well, music publishing. We work very closely with other industry players. So for example, Universal Publishing, Sony Publishing, there's Sheer Publishing as well. these are different publishers where we have good relationships with. And if you require a publisher, we would put you in the direction of one of these three. Next, marketing and strategy. So, as I said, the core business is digital distribution, but if your content is not being marketed, then it's as useless as not being there. If people don't know your music is there, then it's pointless. So what we also help do is to help you strategize and to market your content on the different platforms of which we have deals with. Next, we also do, so we don't host live music events, but what we do is we act as a booking agent. So more than often, a lot of different events happen in South Africa and in different countries as well, where the promoter will contact Content Connect wanting different artists to perform. We'll be responsible for booking the agent, the artists, on their behalf. Next is the sync rights. Sync rights, and this is something I'm going to talk about a bit later actually, so that's fine. So this is the full offering of what Content Connect Ghana will do for you. And this is just a quick snapshot of outside of the platforms within the continent. These are the different international platforms we also have relationships with, where we will also be making your music available. And now, I'm going to, and before I forget, Content Connect Ghana, we're just about to launch our very own video streaming platform as well. So what we're looking for is short format African video content. So video has also become very vital in the whole ecosystem for the artist. It's not just music anymore. In actual fact, I've heard artists say, established artists have told me that if you don't have a video, your song is almost not, they don't recognize it as official. So videos have become very important. So look out for Viva Nation, which will be coming soon. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the topics of discussion for today. There were three topics which I was asked to speak on. One is, you can't really see properly, but the first one is streaming the new gold mine? That's the first one which I'll touch on. Following that, it says smart and effective methods to market and distribute your music content. That will be the next part I'll speak on. And finally, I'll talk about the global copyright trends of what's happening globally. So now this is the juicy part of this talk, and I hope you've all got your pens. The Golden Beamer provided everyone with pens and pads to write. So if you're not writing, this is serious stuff now. All right. Is everyone ready for this now? Yes? Pens and pads are ready? Everyone's ready to start writing when needed? All right, let's move. So I'm going to start with, is streaming the new gold mine? So, is streaming the new gold mine? Last year in 2018, there were over 500 billion streams on audio platforms. Last year. This is 200 billion more than the previous year. So therefore, there clearly seems to be, people are gravitating more towards streaming clearly. And when we talk about streaming, one of the things we mustn't exclude is streaming includes audio, but it also includes video. We're using YouTube, that's streaming as well. So streaming also includes video. And if I combine the figures, I think last year it was over 800 billion streams if you combine audio streaming as well as video streaming last year globally. And there's evident that there was growth. Therefore, that means there's value. People are seeing more value. Ultimately, when I was asked the question, is streaming the new gold mine? It's the question saying, is there value in streaming? Is there value in streaming for the people who take part in streaming? So there's value for two players in this instance that I highlighted, which I'm going to highlight. There's the platform. The platform is the platform that hosts your content. The other one is the artist being yourselves, or artist or label. So I'm going to first start with, is there value in, is there value, what is the value the platforms are finding from streaming platforms, from streaming? One of the things, and even recently, it was last week, is everyone familiar with Netflix? Netflix, last week, they increased the subscription amount for you to subscribe to the platform. also they shared that if you were to buy shares in 2007 when Netflix started with $1,000, those same shares today, that's how many years, 12 years later, would be over $90,000. Is there value in that, guys? Do you see value? There's growth, that means there's value. So I'm going to go to the platform. So what platforms have started doing, such as Netflix, such as Music Time with MTN, one of the things they started doing is they've created accessibility over the sale. So I'm going to elaborate. Instead of it, the original model was, I will just sell you a song. It's a one-off transaction. I sell you the song, you buy. And that's the transaction done. So now, but what has happened now is, with these platforms, what they've started doing instead is they've said, you know what? If you guys are happy to pay a certain amount every month, which is a subscription, we will give you access to millions of songs. You can get as many songs, eat as much as you like. That's the new model. And that's what streaming has done. It's created accessibility. That's the key word there, accessibility. Following up on that, better music tracking. These platforms allow better tracking of music, of how many times it's played. You can even now get statistics as to where the content has been played. From my understanding, on YouTube, for example, you can actually see now, if you look at analytics, you can see where is most of your music being played. Now, as a label, that can help you determine, if you want to do a tour, you can look and see, most of my content is being played in Accra. So therefore, if I want to do a performance, it makes sense for me to do a performance there first. You get me? Hello? Thank you. And that will also lead to more accurate reporting. And I'm going to come back to that a bit later. But because the numbers are all there, it means more accurate reporting. Following that, as I said, streaming has managed to hinder piracy. And that is one of the biggest things that the industry has seen. Over the past decade, for over 10 years, piracy has pretty much crippled the entertainment and music industry. But thanks to streaming, it's created a hindrance for that. And because of that, finally, we're starting to see an increase of revenue within the industry once again, which is a great thing. And now tying that part into my last point, which is new investments to create new models. Because of that, the investors at one point were, let me say, hesitant to invest in the entertainment industry because it's too risky. Piracy means, how do I know I'm going to get my money back? But now, as I said earlier, because of that steady increase and steady growth, now these investors are starting to see opportunity. And with that, we're starting to see new models being created. So I mean, for example, with MTN Music Time, that's a new model which is being introduced into the market, where they're introducing a new method of payment to listen to the music. Earlier last year, iTunes purchased Shazam, which is I'm sure you're familiar with Shazam. But iTunes purchased that. And with that, we haven't seen yet the results of what's going to come, but I'm sure that very soon we're going to see smart speakers where you'll be able to interact with a speaker to find music for yourself. Another one that happened later on last year, Spotify bought a company called DistroKid. DistroKid is an aggregation company, but now Spotify has bought it. Therefore, it allows people to start uploading their music directly, where you can just go directly now. You just log on, create your account, you can directly start uploading your content onto Spotify. So these are the new business models which are starting to appear now that we see. So yes, that's the value the platforms have seen from from streaming. I'm now going to move to the artist or the label. Before I do that, I need to have a sip of water. It's very hot here. All right, let's continue. Are we all here? Thank you. Next, we're talking about the artist and the label. So for the artists of the label, and I made it the first point, is the piracy as well. Thankfully, thanks to streaming, which has hindered piracy, artists and labels are starting to see money coming in again, like the old days. Like Mr. Mensah was saying, where it was juicy. Now things are starting to get juicy again. The next thing is increase in unique songs played. Last year, over 3 million songs were played by completely unknown artists. So what I'm saying to you is some of these streaming platforms are also becoming discovery platforms. So if you're a brand new artist, unknown, you've done, as in now because of that, because of these streaming platforms, some artists who have not released their songs onto radio yet, they have not put their things on their music video on TV, they haven't even done performances. But even just because they're on the platform, they stand a chance of being found. Where what happens is, what a lot of these streaming platforms do is they ask for, if you like this, you might also like this. They do recommendations. So this recommendation is what is increased, or is what attributed to the 3 million brand new, over 3 million brand new artists worldwide music have been played. Never been played. And then next, engagement and growth over the sale. Now, the reality is, streaming, if you count one single stream, it's not a lot of revenue. Streaming is about volumes. It's about a volumes game. So now you as the artist, what needs to happen is you need to make sure you grow and engage with your fan base. As I said, it's useless the music being there if you're not pushing people to your music. And thanks to the likes of social media has helped that, where now you can grow, you engage, and engagement is the most important thing when it comes to the social media game. Being able to engage and interact. When you tell your fans, listen, my music is here, they go there. It's not these dormant fans who aren't doing anything. You need to engage with your fans. Because the ultimate, if you engage with your fans enough and they start listening to you, they follow you, they want to know where your music is, they want to see what you're doing today, they want to see, all of you should be tweeting on these things saying that you're here today, because your fans should be saying that, they're the MTN Digital Music Conference today. That's engagement, and people must respond. And once you do that, then there's an element of control. Because at the end of the day, on a platform like Spotify, which now comes to additional revenue streams. A platform like Spotify, if you get 1 million streams on Spotify, that can equate to pretty much $5,000. That's if you can get 1 million streams. So and that's an additional revenue stream which you might not have had before. But $5,000 to an emerging artist who's never even been played before, $5,000 is a lot that can help you reinvest back into your career to make sure you only improve, whether it's with the music video quality, with the audio quality. It's an additional revenue stream. So these are the advantages of streaming for the artist and the platform. There'll be a Q&A session, I think, later, so we can talk more in detail, but I'm just going to proceed for now. So now let's talk about our continent. So in Africa, streaming, there have been hindrances to streaming in Africa. The main 2 reasons, as listed here, is payment gateway restrictions and data issues. So with regards to the payment issues, if you exclude Angola, South Africa, and Egypt, it's said that less than 1% of Africans have a credit card. And a lot of these streaming platforms that I'm sure you're aware, they want credit cards for you to be able to access. So now if you don't have a credit card, then how do you access the content? So that's an issue which has been obviously raised. The next one is data. I know that I can speak for South Africa, that it is 134% more expensive than other countries like Brazil, Russia, India, and China. As in countries, so South Africa, the data cost is 134% more. So that's the problem also. Because now at the end of the day, will you choose to use your data to buy or just to communicate? So that's another issue. But with it, thankfully, there are solutions as well. I'm not just here to present problems. I also always talk about solutions as well. So, one of the biggest things in each and every country, what I've noticed, content from the country is king. Local content will rule. And I feel maybe it has to do is, maybe there's something within us that we feel, instead of, I'd rather download the, and I'm not encouraging it, but maybe people will say, I'd rather download Jay-Z for free than to download Sarkodie for free. Sarkodie is our guy, so we'll pay for that. Jay-Z, we don't know that guy. So that's what that's what I've seen, is that content local is king. So it's important to work to keep creating local content, quality local content, content that speaks to your market, that talks, that you're using vernacular, not always English. It's fine, we can read, you can put English subtitles for the rest of us, but it's important, local content is king. The next thing is data. So now, some of the solutions we can look at is to have maybe data bundles that are specific to this platform, which would be a discounted rate, which is cheaper, and that will allow you to consume, you can consume as much content as you want without feeling, my data is finishing. Or alternatively, you can look at what you call more innovative ways to charge people. So for example, with MTN now with Music Time, they're calling it, they use time. You're buying time to access this platform. So you'll buy an hour worth or 2 hours worth or 5 hours worth. There are different bundles, which I'm sure they'll explain to you in more detail if you see, but you're buying time. Now that's an innovative way of charging people instead of the traditional ways. And then lastly is payment options. We need to use more flexible payment gateways. And I mean, in Africa, we need to allow airtime to purchase content. We need to explore having deals with local banks to allow us to access and buy straight using USSD to purchase content. We need to look at mobile money like Aftown, using mobile money to be able to access content. These are some of the solutions that need to be implemented in order for us to make streaming really successful on this continent. Next, I'm going to move on to the next topic of discussion, which is smart and effective methods to market and distribute music content. So, I was asked this question, and upon thinking about it, I realized that I think we need to take it even 10 steps back. Because I think we all know how to promote and market. But the problem is, I think we're not treating ourselves as businesses. So that's where we need to go back. As an artist, or let me even say as a brand, because as a brand, music is just one avenue for you to, you can, as a brand, you can do anything. You can start a cooking show. You can do music. Music is a vehicle you're using to push your brand. But ultimately, the brand is the most important thing. So just like any business, before you start a business, you do a business plan. That's where you define things. You break things down. And that's what we need to start doing within our industry. So before we even get to start about smart ways of promoting, marketing, and music, we need to go back to the business plan. And in order to do that, just like a business plan is, the first thing is who? Who are you? So in that part, you need to, and this is something which I think people should even write documents. You must put it down in a document, type it out, write it. The first is who. Who are you? What, your name? What music do you do? What's the genre? Which other artists have influenced your music, whether current or the legends in the game? You need to define who you are and what you stand for. What you stand for, to the point that, for example, because at the end of the day, when it comes to your fan base and growing your fan base, they want authenticity. They want someone who's genuine. They want to see something. They don't want to see an actor. They want to be able to relate to you and really feel you. It's not about pretending, because once you're pretending and they find out, they'll leave you because this guy's a liar, he's a fake. So to the point, so when I'm saying who are you, you must know to so much detail about who you are and what you stand for, that if you say, I don't believe in drinking alcohol, 5 years down the line where you're now a big brand, and I don't know, an alcohol brand, vodka, Smirnoff vodka comes to you and says, listen, we want you to be an influencer for us. Here's $5 million. You must be so strong and know who you are that you'll say, no, it doesn't work with my brand. That's the truth. That is the truth. When I say authenticity, you have to be authentic and true. But me, I'm a drinker, so I'll accept the 5 million. So it's fine for me. But for you, if that's what you believe in, you must know what you believe in. You get me? Okay, and then the next thing from there, you have to be where your audience is. So when looking at a model, these are the basic elements of what you need in order to be successful as an artist. The biggest one in the bottom, in the middle, I said, is quality music. Making sure your music is mixed and mastered and is quality to as everyone else. If it's not, then you mustn't submit. You must find whoever can mix, master, do everything properly. Because now what I'm going to see and I'm going to show you is each one of these other elements can speak to your business plan. So number one there is PR, public relations. Usually the PR team is responsible for getting your music out there. They're the ones responsible for sampling your songs to TV, your music video to TV, going to radio stations. They can even look at getting interviews for you. That's what PR does. So now, going back to your business plan, you need to answer the where. Where is your market? Where is your audience? So now, if you can break down and know where your audience listens to your music on radio, when they're listening to radio, which stations are they listening to? When they're watching TV, which stations are they tuning into? When there's magazines, blogs, etc., etc. Where are your fans, the people who like your music, where are they? You need to be able to break it down and list where they are, so that now it makes your job for your team, the PR team, is so much easier because they know directly where to go. You're now becoming an assassin, a sharpshooter. You know where you're going. You're not just doing a machine gun where you're just trying to shoot everywhere and hoping that your music will play somewhere. So you need to be specific and direct. So that's how it helps the PR team. And then next, booking agent. Where is your fans going to listen? Where do they go to live performances? Which are the venues where they go? And this can also help you by, in the part where I said who, when I said who are the influencers or the different artists, you can even look and see the artists that you influence your music. Where do they perform? You can use that to be a blueprint to help you to say, okay, my music is influenced by this guy, so therefore I can also follow in these steps. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's what, in fact, you should be doing. Where then you're also performing in those same places, and you're also getting paid those performance fees. So it's very key to know where they are. And then once you know where, again, the job for the agent is so much easier. They know where to target. They're not just going anywhere. Because, I mean, the reality is, you can't, there's not, time is of the essence. You need to be pinpoint accurate. Next, I put the distribution. So now distribution is either physical or digital. I definitely commend that when it comes to digital distribution, your content should be everywhere. The minute someone hears your song on radio, they should be able to Google your name and then press Google and see where your music is available and purchase it or stream it, whichever. So that's important. So distribution, for me, digital, that's the future. That's where we are now. If you're not on these online platforms, then in this day and age you will be lost. But in saying that, I'll be honest, CD is still relevant. It's very much so. And I mean, you can still sell CDs. And I've seen the most effective place to sell CDs is at your performances. When people are in the mood, when they're in the groove, they've just felt you, now they're excited, they want to just buy. That's the best place to sell physical CDs. That's what I've seen. So you need to understand also, well, for distribution, you must be everywhere. You must be, your music must just be available. And then I'm going to move on to the digital strategy. Now, you need to have digital, as I said, social media is the most powerful tool for an artist because you can engage directly with your fans. And that's all these fans want to be just a part of your story. So the more you let them be a part of the story, the better. They want to engage more. And that's what you ultimately want to do. But you need to have a strategy with it. You need to be able to post so many times within a day. You must know, I must tweet so many times a day. And you must have a strategy and continue and be consistent. Because at the end of the day, with the digital strategy, it's about consistency. It's not about just one tweet, 3 weeks later, another. You have to be consistent and have a plan in place. So that's where that comes into play. So digital strategy is very key. But at the end of the day, as I said, the business plan, you need to start treating yourselves as a business. Instead of trying to chase a hit where you make a song immediately, you put it out. That you need to start thinking, wow. Because at the end of the day, you sitting in the studio making music, that's time. And we all know time is money. Let's say it again. Time is, thank you. So the fact that you're spending time there, that's money. You could have been doing something else. So you need to be able to make back that money from your time you've spent. And the only way to do that is to have a plan in place and to know what you want to do with that music. So that's my response to the second topic of this discussion. Are we all together still? Wonderful. You know, at the end of this talk, I want to take a snap of everybody, and we must be smiling. I want to feel the energy that you felt, the energy that I've given you today, okay? Thank you. Next, I'm going to talk about copyright. But we do have a copyright expert in the building, which I'll call upon, who will come and elaborate more on the local industry. But I'm just going to give you just a brief understanding of copyright, so you understand it a bit better, and the importance of copyright, the importance of registering with the local community, the local collection societies, because that is revenue streams as well. And later, what I will do, I will elaborate more on the different revenue streams artists internationally are seeing through the different streams, and I'm going to elaborate on that. But for now, there's two separate copyrights when it comes to music. There's one which is the composition. So composition, just as the word is the creation of the song, is the writers, is the melody, is the person who created the lyrics. That's one. That's the composition. The second one is the sound recording. The sound recording can be seen as the final product. That is the final song which is finished and is done, and that's the one which you're going to hear on all the streaming platforms or download sites and stuff like that. So have you understood the two different copyrights? It makes sense. So I'm going to just repeat what was said earlier by our colleague from Gamro, that when you copyright your music, these are the things that happen. You're protected in these ways. Number one, reproduce. No one has the right to reproduce your music if it is copyrighted. The next one, prepare derivative works. That's saying that no one can now take your song and do a remix. And also derivative works is also defined as not only just someone doing a remix of your song, but it's almost like a transformation from the original. So if your song was originally an audio file, it can be transformed into a music video. That is also a derivative. And that means that no one can then do a music video with your song without your permission, without licensing your content. The next one is distribution. As it says, that means no one can then sell your stuff. If your music is copyrighted, no one can just take it and then sell it. It's illegal. It's not right. And then lastly, perform. So now for perform, you must understand that perform isn't just performing with a microphone on stage. By definition, a performance is anywhere in public where your music is heard. That's a performance. So if your song is playing on radio, technically that's a performance, and there's a right there. Even, I mean, it's extreme as if your car window is open and you're listening to music loud. That's a performance, technically. So that's how you define perform. It's not just standing on stage performing with the microphone. Performance is anywhere where your music is heard publicly, in public. And basically, when you have it copyrighted, no one has the right to just do that. They can't just perform your music anywhere. Are we together? Lovely. So now this slide is going to break down the different revenue streams that international musicians, composers, artists, labels are enjoying. And these are the fundamental things that need to come together locally as well, so that we can also enjoy in these different revenue streams. So the first one I'm going to start with is the copyright in composition. So this is the first one when I talked about the copyright for the writers, the people who put, the composers, the melody makers, the guys who put down lyrics. The first column here, copyright in composition. The first one is public performance royalties. So as I said, a performance royalty is when your song is played in public. So technically, what should be happening is these collection societies have structures where they deal with the radio stations to be able to track, to know how many times, every time your song is played on the radio, there's a percentage accrued for you, or the composer, sorry. Let me make sure you understand, it's for the composer. The people who wrote, there's a percentage accrued for you. And in the same way, the next point is mechanical royalty. Now, mechanical royalty is a royalty that comes about every time there's a reproduction of your song. So if I can make you understand what they mean when they say reproduction is, if you come to a CD store, if I sell you my CD, you now have a copy of my music. And that's what is defined as a reproduction. So anytime your song has been copied and put out, that's a reproduction. So when you download a song, you won't have the original one that I made, but you're downloading from a platform, you've bought it, and now you have a reproduction of my work. So that is a reproduction. So every time, once again, there's a reproduction, there's a percentage accrued for the composer or the author that is owed to them. And then finally, on the composition side, there's the synchronization royalties, also known as a sync royalty. So by definition, a sync is when your music is put with moving pictures. That's how they define it. But for me to give an example is, if your music is used in an advertisement, you see the moving pictures is the advert, now they're using your music as part of the advert. That's a sync. And there's a royalty, again, that is owed to you as the composer for having the sync. So these three, these talk to the composers. Now, the copyright in the recording, this one now talks more to the actual performing artists or the label, let me say. So now there's three also under copyright in recording. So the recording artist, so now the first one there is recording artist royalty. So depending if you're an independent artist or you have a label. So for example, if your music is on iTunes for 10 CD, iTunes takes, I think it's 30% for hosting your content. So that's left 7 CDs. So if you're an independent artist, that 7 CD is owed to you. That's the money you've made from the sale. Or if you're part of a label, what would happen is the label would then take the 7 and they give you whatever you've signed with them. Does that make sense? Together, are we together? Okay, so that's the recording royalty. The next one is neighboring rights royalty. The best way for me to say neighboring rights is also known as needle time. Neighboring rights royalties. This now speaks to everyone who took part in the song, not just the performing artist, because sometimes what happens, only the performing artist gets the shine. They're the only ones who get the money, but technically, every single person who's, if you're playing an instrument on the song, if you're the drummer, through neighboring rights, you're entitled to earn a royalty. If you did the guitar, if you just jumped on a song and just go, boom, you're owed something for that. That is what neighboring royalties does and speaks to. So it speaks to everyone who took part in the creation of the song. And the last one there, I put producer's royalty. So producer, sometimes that definition of a producer gets confusing, but the way I like to look at it is there's producer and the beat maker. A beat maker just makes a beat. For me, a producer is someone who not only can they make the beat, but they assist in the arrangement of the song to say, no, the chorus should be here, the verse should be like this. They almost become the musical director, actually. That's the it's a musical director. So they also instruct that they need more instruments in this part, and they know who to get as a session musician to come perform. They contribute musically. It's not just making the beat. But anyway, so talking to this, producers are also, whether you're a beat maker or, as I said, a musical director, there's still a royalty can be owed to you. Now this, I say can be, because it also does depend on the deal you've made with the label or the artist. And I'm going to talk about that in a bit. And then lastly, these are the other, which are the streams which I think we're very familiar with.